If God was dependent on people, when I say people, I'm speaking those who are of the church, those who are believers. Just think about what I'm saying. If God depends on people of the church, God knows His will wouldn't be done. So what do God depend on? God depends on Himself. He depends on Himself. Himself, of who would let God be God in their life and use their life. When Jesus chose the disciples, Jesus didn't choose the disciples that He may depend on them to keep the law or to do what needs to be done. Jesus chose the disciples because they will allow God to do in them and to use them. To do in them and use them. This is the reason why God is coming back for a church without a spot or wrinkle. It's because God is not dependent on anyone. God is not dependent on a prophet, a master prophet, a bishop, a master bishop, a chief bishop. God is not dependent on them. If he was dependent on man, He would never needed to justify man. God is dependent upon what He knows. The same way how prophets and preachers and leaders and people act in the church, they go by what they know concerning God, concerning His word. They dress it up according to what they know. Guess what? They ain't the only one that goes by what they know. God go by what He knows. He do not go by depending on man. He goes by what He knows. Which means, how can an architect or entrepreneur, how can they be more zealous of knowledge and wisdom than God? When you see how perfect the buildings are upon the earth that has been here for years, and you see the graph of the graph and the architect of houses, how breathtaking they be, or the landscape, how breathtaking things are when man put their hands to it. But what about when God put His hands to it? Is not God more perfect? Or we'll say like this: where is the wisdom? Think about it. I want you to think about this now. God predestined. When the Bible says He foreknow the person that He chooses, He foreknow. Think about that. He foreknow. Know means that, and if you notice, foreknow, predestined, justify, God did all those things to that individual is because God knows. You think God is sitting back waiting until things get right with someone. This is what people miss it. People sit back and think God is, they in their mind is not infinite. So their mind is in days and times and seasons, but God created that. So how can his mind and his thoughts be in that when he created it? And a lot of people say, well, why would God allow the wicked to reign? That is your discernment. You have not sought for God's discernment to behold in your life. Listen to what I'm saying. You might think that God depends on man. When the Bible said that Jesus called them, listen to this. Jesus called. He gave man to be an apostle. He gave prophets, teachers. This is in the Bible, in the New Testament. He calls for the edifying of the church. You got to understand, God does not do things in perfection. God is not an imperfection. Man might be imperfection, but you better understand this. God has called someone that will allow, God knows this, that will allow perfection in their life, upon their life, that he may be able to use them as a vessel. God do not use vessels that is not. Some people say, well, God used imperfection. No, what God does with imperfection, his goal is to get it to the point where it is practicing his law or perfection. That's people create their own illusion of the law of God, and they don't understand the laws of the Spirit, which means the Spirit is here, and the Spirit is not finna lead you to say certain things and do certain things to please God that don't please God. So when people when people are living their life, no matter how much word you know, no matter how much you've been to church, when people live their life unto themselves, it's unto themselves. When you live your life unto God, it's when you have came to the place where you have surrendered all. And your only concern is, I want to please you. And I know that you have to teach me. You have to guide me. You have to lead me. This is where their focus of their conscience, of their existence is focused upon him that created existence. Don't be fooled by people who talks about imperfection, more great. Don't be fooled by the things that do not please God. You got to understand, these things don't please God. Imperfection don't please God, or he would have never sent Jesus. A lot of people say, well, that's why he sent Jesus. I'm imperfection, so I know that I please God because he sent Jesus. No. Jesus said, do you believe in me? Do you know what he means by believe in him? When you believe in a person, you believe their character. You believe their character. And see, Jesus' life was to be an example. So when you say I believe in Christ, that means you believe in the example of what a child of God should be walking in, talking in, existing in. Do you understand? Listen, it's very simple. It's very simple. You see, so much wickedness has rise, but see, I'm telling you this. The glory of God is so strong. If you would just desire it, if you would just desire it more than anything, you would see and experience exactly what Christ died for and rose for. You will listen, you will see these things and you will experience these things right now. Bless you.